other, just have to sort of balance between the two and just realize that they're both necessary. And it's the leader's ability to find the point of balance, homeostasis for the system, to perform properly that makes a critical difference. And then it gets down to coherence as the last step.
Yes. And coherence, I would relate to the gut in the same way that you would say that, you maybe go to the heart doctor every day and look after your heart, something like that. You maybe never go to a neurologist, right? You set a principle up in there and you kind of set it on go and it keeps running. But the gut you feed every day. Coherence is about what are you doing every day? Like, what are you doing every moment to regulate your nervous system, to make sure that you are showing up with the best possible practices that you can, and that you're able to take one foot and put it in front of the other and actually apply all of these practices that you find in balance with, getting that cognitive dissonance and holding it at two apparent opposing truths at the same time, that you're incorporating your principles and you're actually doing it on a daily basis. It's not just lip service. It's not just let's go to a retreat and have all these great thoughts and not actually do it. And so that is the coherence is, how does the rubber hit the road every day? Right. And how are you dealing with the bumps that come along with
it's having the conviction that what you're doing is the right thing to do, because you've gone through the filter of what do I think about this, what do I feel about this, and what is my gut telling me? A well-informed gut is great. A ill-informed gut's terrible because it doesn't take the other two into account. But there is a brain in our gut. They exist in our solar plexus just as much as one sits up here in our mind that tells us. Everyone knows that. How do you feel about that? And that's a gut feel, right? Eric talks about the gut feel. Or woman's intuition is the other one that's being utilized. Another one of these gut things. And that's what it comes down to. And so coherence is then having the courage to move forward with your conviction. Not necessarily the certainty, because you may be certain, but you may not be right.
Yeah.
But at least you understand why you're doing what you're doing. You've thought it through. You've looked at the consequences, and you move forward with courage and conviction to make it reality.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is calming down the nervous system so that you're actually checking in with your gut and maybe not the third cup of coffee you had.
Yeah. Exactly. Because there's a real physiological thing called heart-mind coherence, which says there is actually a hierarchy.
Well, you two have done it before, right?
Yeah.
I think I walked in your house and I saw this thing.
Yeah.
Tell me how that worked and how you work with leaders on that.
So heart rate variability is what is being measured when we measure heart-mind coherence. And it's this idea that for anybody who's ever sung in a choir or anyone who's ever been in a place where everybody's breathing at the same time, everyone can kind of naturally get into that coherent state, especially in a group coherent state. Those are two examples of those. Is that it's a state of relaxation in which you're breathing in and out through your chest. Some people choose to breathe gratitude in and out through your chest. They think about something they're grateful for, think about someone they love, something like that. And what happens is the physiology changes quite dramatically, honestly, when you're in that state.
Absolutely.
And the mind is no longer the one that's in charge, because ultimately heart-mind coherence and the practice says the heart is actually the best master of the entire system, the enteric system, which is like the brain and the heart. If we allow and if we actually concentrate our attention on the heart, the whole system's going to come into alignment, and suddenly you're not off chasing a cup of coffee. You're not off, kind of hangry. You're not doing all these different things. The heart is actually governing the system coherently.
So as a leader, I can learn how to do this, and that's going to calm my system down. And a calm system is going to be, I'm going to be a better leader.
Yes.
How do I apply that to the culture of my company? How do I apply that to the leaders and the people that
Well, I think the biggest thing that happens, the outcome of that, is that you're present. And if you're present, regardless of what happens in front of you, you're able to respond to it appropriately. Because you're not in a fight or flight. I mean, our gut is our animal instinct, right? That's fight or flight. What's going on here? That's where you kind of get the vibe from somebody. Your head's in a different place, your heart's in a different place, but if they're all working together and you're present, and no matter what comes at you, not that you're indifferent to it, but you don't have to get engaged with it in a negative way because it's not triggering anything in you. I talked about that earlier. Something might get triggered because of past relationships and things like that. If someone comes from an abusive family or a family where you were neglected emotionally, that's going to affect your other relationships and work. It's all relationships. You'll not be in an intimate relationship, but you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, and for all the stuff we're talking about, you got to get results in the business.
That's right.
The business has got to make money, period. Otherwise, as Stephen Covey once said, no margin, no mission. So, and what we're talking about is really not soft, squishy little kind of Oprah moments. These are the realities of dealing with yourself to be the best that you can be, and then dealing with a culture to allow people to help create an environment which they can be willingly show up to be the best that they can be and not get out of shape. And that's really what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And what you recognize is too is that coherence, the actual state of coherence, is contagious. One person goes into a room and they have coherence, and everybody else, if they're going to allow it, if they're looking after their own system, they can all fall into balance, and a meeting feels a lot different.
Yeah.
Right. Very practical.
Fred, I'm always struck by the things you did with the culture at the bakery that you worked at. What was like one or two of the things that you did to change the coherence of that company or that culture of that company?
Well, one, we uncovered our purpose, and it was a bakery. So we baked goods, a lot, 450 SKUs, shipped it all over Atlanta. And, if you think about it, eating, putting something in your body is a pretty intimate act, right? Not the most intimate, but right number two, and so food safety becomes a concern. Okay. But beyond that, then what our purpose was is we nourish lives.
Yep.
And it had multiple meanings because it did that 360 of the stakeholder mentality. Because clearly, we nourish lives, we provide employment for our employees and make sure that they're able to take care of their families. The extended family, sometimes it's 3 to 4 to 1 because of the family's kids and spouses that they have. And then also for our customers at the time, they were able to make a living doing this stuff. The well-being of the product itself is important, and also for our shareholders, make sure we get a proper return and so forth and so on. So we gave them that sense of purpose. This is what we do, and then we take care of each other. It allowed us to make decisions like we started working with. During COVID, it was really hard getting labor, really hard because you come into a bakery, 105 degrees in the summer with a mask on. It's not a great work environment physically. But we started working with people that are women primarily that were coming out of a situation where they lost their children because of addiction. A lot of meth addicts, they lose 2, 3 children, and we would hire them temporarily if they did a good job and they stayed sober. We'd offer them a permanent job, and for several, we helped them move into apartments. Everyone pitched in, bought them furniture for their home. They got their kids back. It was a big deal. That fills you with a whole lot of love when you contributed to someone's well-being. Several did not make it.
Yeah,
that happens. But the 1 or 2 that did made it all worthwhile. And so that's how we began to do it. And I'll tell you one day that was really impactful for me, because I had a meeting with all the employees at one time when I first was named CEO, and I had all the managers there, of course. And we had probably at that time maybe 60 employees. We doubled it over time because our business grew. And I told all the employees, and I'm fortunate I'm bilingual, so I could speak in Spanish, even though we had probably 10 countries of origin, the majority were Hispanic. And I said that the way these managers maintain your work area, your break area, and your restrooms is a direct reflection of what they think about you. And you see this group of managers go pale because the work areas, the break rooms, and the restrooms were not pleasant. They were not easy to do. So we immediately started working on it. And I actually at that time, because of the situation in the company, I paid my own money. I got reimbursed ultimately to get this stuff done. Paint, carpet, tiles, working refrigerators, microwaves.
Yeah.
We built a picnic area, all this stuff. And I'll never forget, I was making the rounds, and I always walking into the break room where there are a lot of female employees where they brought their lunch and they're talking and chattering. And I was like, ladies, how's it going today? And we had already done a lot of the improvements. We just knew they just had to tell me, microwave is not working. Boom, it's changed. The refrigerator is not working. Everything was fixed. And this one lady stopped and looked at me, and she said, I want you to know that God sent you to help us. And we are grateful for that. And because of that, just know that we're going to help you. I was thunderstruck.
Oh, I'm thunderstruck.
I was like, I got all choked up. I didn't know what to say, because this woman from very humble origins just said something so profound to me that just moved me. Not because it's something I did that I deserve recognition for, as much as I felt, you know what, it's working.
Yeah.
It's working, because she nourished me in that moment. And who would have thought that a line employee is going to nourish the CEO of the company in an emotional way? But she did. And I was so grateful for that. And that's an example of how it works.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And we talk a lot about emotional intelligence. and how emotional intelligence is obviously a very important thing in which we recognize that, emotional intelligence, signs of emotional intelligence are, hey, I can have bad news, I can take criticism, I'm able to deliver news to other people, I'm able to handle conflict. I can handle, I'm not repressing my emotions, I'm allowing them to move. That's how I would say it. I'm allowing emotions to occur in my life and they arise, and you can have moments in which you tell a beautiful story and you can feel that, right? You're not just
Yeah.
up, oh, can't, it's like, it's you fully accept what comes. Spiritual intelligence, I think, is very similar to what we talked about with mysticism, right? Where it's this idea that there are so many different patterns that we can see in reality, and there's a law, ancient law in alchemy called as above, so below, right? And I kind of translate that to the fractal nature of the world, right? And which not only can you see patterns that happen on one level, but you can also see you can also affect things on different levels too, right? And so this is one of the things that I love to do with people is every week they come to me and say, what's going on? And they'll say, well, this thing is happening over here. And I was like, I bet you that thing's happening over there, and like the more that we recognize the interconnectedness of our own lives, the more that we can learn to affect our businesses in a really beautiful way, right?